Hi guys, welcome back. Domain for Identity and Access Management. In this video we're going to see chapter 4.3, given a scenario, implement identity and access management control. Okay, so this is the topics we are going to see one by one: access control models, physical access controls, biometric factors, tokens, certificate based authentication, file system security, and database security. So we will see one by one. So access control model. So access control generally refers to the process of making resource available to the account that should have access, while limiting the access to only what is required. You need to know this form of access control. So MAC, mandatory access control; DAC, discretionary access control; ABAC, attribute based access control; role based access control; rule-based access control. So we will see what is MAC and DAC, so everything one by one. MAC, the most basic form of access control, involves assigning label of resource, account, resource and account. Example include sensitive, secret, and public. If the labels on the account and resource don't match, the resource remains unavailable in discretionary manner. So this type of access control, called mandatory access control, also refers to as multi-level access control, is often used within government system where resource and access are granted based on categorical assignment as classified, secret, or top secret. So mandatory access control applies to all resources within the network and doesn't allow users to extend access right by proxy. A slightly more complex system of access control involves restricting access for each resource in a discretionary manner. Discretionary access control. So this is access rights are discretions of the systems or information owner. System principal owner assigns security access, has flexible in accessing information or system, allowing dynamic of unauthorized disclosure or access. So as I said before, a slightly more complex systems of access control involve restricting access for each resource in discretionary manner. So DAC scenarios allow individual resource to be made available or secured from access. Access rights are configured at discretions of the account that have authority over each resource, including the capability to extend administrative rights through the same mechanism. In DAC, a security principal has complete control over the object that it creates or otherwise owns, unless this is restricted through group or role membership. The owners assign security level based on objects and subjects and can make his or her own data available. Others are a common scenario for DAC is online social network user choosing who can access their data. The Trusted Computer System Evaluation Criteria specifications that many government networks use explicitly specific only the MAC and DAC form of access control. The TCSEC, Trusted Company System Evaluation Criteria, in short TCSEC, is sometimes referred to as the Orange Book because of the original color of its printed manual covered. It's a DOD 5200.28-STD. So you can Google it to find more information about this. Okay, so next slide. Attribute-based access control. Defined in NIST 800-162, attribute-based control, definitions and considerations. Attributes. So ABAC is a logic access control model that the Federal Identity, Credential, and Access Management roadmap recommends. This roadmap recommends as a preferred access control model for information sharing among diverse diverse organization. Okay, so ABAC is based on the extensible access control markup language. The reference architecture is similar to the core components of AAA. As we discussed these topics previous video, you can also Google it. I mean, you can go and see that previous video. So the ABAC authorization access process is determined by evaluating rules and policies against attributes associated with an entity, such as the subject, object, operations, or environment conditions. Attributes or characteristics that define specific aspect of the entity. When an access request is made, the access decisions is based on the evaluations of attributes and access control rules by the attribute-based access control mechanism. ABAC is a more dynamic access control method. When attribute values change, the access is changed based on the attribute change. ABAC systems are capable of enforcing both the AC and MAC model. ABAC is well suited for large federated enterprise, making it more complicated and costly to implement and maintain than simple access control model. Okay, so next, RBAC, role-based access control and the rule-based access control. RBAC, first we see the role-based access control. This scenario, RBAC scenario, access rights are first assigned to roles. Then accounts are associated with these rules without the direct assignment of resource access rights. So these solutions provide the greatest level of scalability within large enterprise scenarios, where explicitly granting rights to each individual account could rapidly overwhelm administrative staff and increase the potential for accidentally granting unauthorized permission. RBAC combines some direct access aspect of mandatory access control and verifying discretionary access rights based on the role membership. Delegated administration's override granted through RBAC is itself managed by specialized administration rule instead of through ownership or direct control over the individual resource as in strictly DAC solution. So as the RBAC specifications, because popular and allow the central management of enterprise access control, the need for access control list, it was reduced. The ACL was reduced. The need for ACL was reduced. The RBAC doesn't easily support multi-factor decisions and lack the capability to associate roles with access control requirements. This make long-term maintenance difficult. Okay. So we will now move on next slide. Physical access control. The relative strength of authentication systems involve making it difficult to falsify or circumvent its process. Anonymous or open access represent the weakest possible form of authentication, whereas the requirement for both a logon identifier and a password might be considered the simplest form of actual account verification. The highest level of authentication might involve not only account logon but also criteria measuring whether the logon is occurring from specific network address, or perhaps whether some type of additional physical security measures is present. So proximity cards, the proximity and smart cards, you can see proximity is a whole little information to determine access by matching the card identifications number to access database informations. So the smart cards provides an authentication cryptographic key into readers. So proximity and smart cards are most basic form of physical access control. Proximity cards have an embedded microchip and hold very little information The main purpose of the card is to determine access by matching the card identification number to information in a database. If the number is in the database, access is granted. The most common use of proximity card is for door access. So if you go, let's say if you go to the hotel, you can use the card to access something like that. So proximity cards are also used for applications that require quick processing, such as toll booth and parking carriages. Okay, the smart card are form of something you have authentications that uses a standard wallet card with an embedded chip that can automatically provide an authenticating cryptographic key to its reader. Smart cards might also contain useful data for other forms of authentication, such as biometric measures that is too large for high volume remote authentication solution. A smart card typically displays a picture of the card holder and has a programmable chip that provides identifications and authentications. Communication between the card and reader occur either through direct physical contact or with a remote contactless electromagnetic field. The upcoming sections we will see the certificate based authentication. Let's move on the next slide. So before that we will see that biometric access control topic we were discussed in the previous video. So this is the same topic, based upon the specific biometric measurements on fingerprint, iris scan, retinal scan. So these are the very common day to day nowadays, because sometimes I will tell you the few things. Let's say it's a fingerprint. The process is scans and identify the swirls and loops of a fingerprint. So let's say if the issues I can say with what happened with the fingerprint. So let's say it's an injury, scars, or loss of finger might create false rejection results. So unless paired with other measures, the pattern alone can be easily counterfeited. Okay, let's say it's a voice recognition, voice print measure the tonal and the voice print job is measure the tonal and phasing patterns of a spoken phrase or passage. The issue is, let's say if allergy, illnesses, and exhaustion can distort vocal pattern or create false rejection results. Facial recognitions, the job is identify and measure facial characteristics including eyes, spacing, bone pattern, chin shape, and forehead size and shape. The issue is the method is subject to false rejection result if the scanner is not aligned precisely with the scan face, right? So the same thing, the biometric factors, you can also find more information. Google, so false acceptance rate or false rejection rates, across error rates. Tokens, physical device used for access. So some of you already using if you are using, if you have a HSBC account, so some of the bank, they are using this software and hardware based, so one-time password. This is one of the best method of something you have. Authentications involves using a token, which can be either a physical device or one-time password issued to user seeking access. So in this case of credit card, this is an embedded chip in the card itself that must be paired with something pin code to avoid the 18.5 million exploit targets suffered in 2013. Token includes solutions such as chip integrated smart card or digital token that provide a numeric key that change every few minutes and is synchronized with the authentication server. Without the proper key or physical token, access is denied because the token is unique and granted only to the users pretending to be the properly authorized users is more difficult. Digital tokens are typically used only one time or are valid for very short period of time to prevent capture and later reuse. Most token based access control systems pair the token with a PIN or other form of authentications to protect against unauthorized access using a lost or stolen token. So telecommunicators might also use an electronics device known as a key fob that provides one part of three-way match to log on over unsecured network connections to a secure network. This kind of key fob might have a keypad on which the user must enter a PIN to retrieve access codes, or it could be display only device such as VPN token that algorithmically generated security codes as part of challenge authentication system. OTP also, you might know, OTP or a password that can be used only one time. So an OTP is considered safer than your regular password because the password keeps changing, providing protection against replay attacks. The two main standards for generating OTP are TOTH, HOTP. As you can see in the screen, so the both standards are governed by the Initiative for Open Authentications. The time-based one-time password algorithm relies on a shared secret and moving factor or counter, which is the current time. The moving factor constantly changing based on the time that has passed since an epoch. The HMAC based one-time password is HOTP algorithm relies on a shared secret and moving factor or counter. When a new OTP is generated, the moving factor is incremented, generating a different password each time. The main difference between HOTP and TOTP is that HOTP password can be valid for an unknown amount of time. In contrast, TOTP password keep changing and are valid for only a short period of time. Because of this difference, TOTP is considered more secure. Okay, let's move on next topic. Certificate-based authentication. So certificate-based authentications uses a digital certificate to identify a user or device before granting access to a resource. Certificate-based authentication is based on something you have, where is the user, private key, and something you know, which is the password that protect the private key. IEEE 802.1x authentication allow only authorized device to connect to the network. The most secure form of IEEE 802.1x authentication is certificate-based authentications. When this authentication model is used, all clients must have a certificate to validate their identity. When implementing 802.1x with a wired network, using a public key infrastructure PKI to deploy certificate is recommended. So the personal identifications PIV card is a contactless smart card used to identify federal employees and contractors. NIST developed the standard personal identification verification PIV of federal employee and contractors. So it published as a Federal Information Processing Standard FIPS. So a smart card became a common access card CAC. If it is used by US Department of Defense, CAC is for DoD users. Civilian users who work for the federal government uses PIV card. The common access card CAC is a credit card size smart card. This is the standard identification for active duty uniformed service personnel, selected reserve personnel, DoD civilian employee, and eligible contractor personnel. So it is also the principal card used to enable physical access to building and control spaces, and it provides access DoD computer network and system. Homeland Security Potential Directive 12, HSPD 12. So it is also one of the important. HSPD 12 requires PIV card to have secure components including PKI digital certificate and biometric. When a CSE is inserted into a smart card readers and the association's PIN is entered, the information on the card chip is compared with the data on a government server access, then is either granted or denied. So using public key cryptographic merely verify that a private key corresponds to the public key in a certificate. A certificate based authentication is digital and doesn't address physical access to device or password. Ensuring the physical security of device and keeping the password for the private key secure are just as important. Okay, let's move on next topic, file system security. So operating system includes planning against both accidental and directed attacks, such as using fault tolerance hardware and software solutions. In addition, choosing the proper file system is important so that you implement an effective method for file level security. This includes encrypted file support and a secured file system that allow or proper level of access control. For example, the Microsoft new technology file systems allow file level access control, whereas most file allocatables based file system which allow only shared level access control. Also be to include regular update reviews for all deployment files and operating systems to address newly identified exploit and apply security patches, hotfix and service pack. Many automated attacks make use of common vulnerabilities, often one for which patches and hotfix are already available but not yet applied. Failure to update application on a regular basis or update auditing can result in unsecure solution that gives an attacker access to additional resource throughout organization network. Okay, so there is also the IPsec and public infrastructure PKI, which implements must also be properly configured and updated to maintain key and ticket stores. Some system can hundreds to include specific level of access. The C2 security rating that many government deploy scenario requires. The trusted computer system evaluation criteria TCSC rating of C2 indicates a discretionary access control environment with additional requirements such as individual logon account access logging. So file system protection including encryption RAID or RAID and access control. Distributed file systems and encrypted file system solution might require bandwidth planning and proper user authentication to allow even basic access. Security planning for this solution might also include placing users who access authenticating server close to the file server to decrease delays created by authentication traffic. Let's move on next slide. Database security. So database or largest repository of sensitive information in many organizations. So organization database contains data ranging from personally identifiable customer information to intellectual property. So lost or stolen customer data can ultimately result in such a severe and permanent damage that the organizations goes out of business. For example, in the physical sector, organization must comply with the payment card industry data security standard PCI DSS, what we in short we can call it. So PCI DSS create policy that define what data needs to be encrypted. It tells how it is to be encrypted and define requirement for key management. One of the biggest challenge associated with the database encryption is key management. This is especially true for organizations that have to meet policy requirement, Federal Information Processing Standard, FIPS in short, which validating key storage. Database encryption is most often accompanied by centralized method of defining key policy and enforcing key management, creating a center of trust. If this trust is breached, the ramifications can be far-reaching, as recently seen with the RSA breach and subsequent Lockheed Martin attack. So with the use of cloud computing environment, rapidly expanding organizations such as financial service, healthcare, utilities, and telecommunication companies are moving toward managing big data with NoSQL database technology. NoSQL encompasses a wide variety of database technology. When compared to relation database, NoSQL systems are more scalable and provide superior performance. Protecting NoSQL data from both internal and external breach is concerned because the NoSQL design doesn't see security as a high priority. NoSQL also lacks confidential and integrity. So this means that the application accessing the data must be relied upon to provide confidential and integrity. Relational database security, on the other hand, includes a feature that protect confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So these features includes rule-based security encryption and access control through user level permissions on stored procedure. So best practice for protecting NoSQL database including change the default ports, building the interface to the only one IP, and encrypting data in the application before writing it to the database. So database such as MongoDB have added support for Kerberos authentications, much more granular access control, and SSL encryption. So if the organization select a NoSQL database technology that is lacking security, it is recommended that organization implement their own authorizations, authentications, and auditing methodology. So although a defense in depth strategy can help, encryptions of data should occur both at rest and in transit. For example, application layer encryption can be used to encrypt information before it is stored in the database. This can prevent sensitive database information from being disclosed by either unauthorized access or theft. Database level encryption by means of encryption that entire contents written to the database can have unintended consequences such as limiting access control and auditing capabilities. So it is important to evaluate any solution before implementation. Okay, so next slides, exam preparations. Which of the following authentication method provides credentials that are only valid duration a single session? Answer: A. Tokens. Answer is tokens. Exam preparations, again, you are looking to implement a new access control mechanism that takes into account that entire environment and request action for access. Which model does the best describe? Answer: A. Attribute based access control. Okay, that's it guys for this video. Okay, please subscribe my channel, press the bell button to get more update, share the video if you like. Okay, so I will post more practice lab later on video. See you guys, bye bye.